Warning, some viewers may find the following footage deeply disturbing.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Welcome to my world, bitch.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I like a little killing now and then. What's wrong with that?
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to an episode of Deep Cuts. We are sans Kendall this week. We're going to do these bonus episodes on movies that Kendall has already seen. We will go ahead
and movies that we just like.
And movies that we just like. We'll give a special shout out. We're gonna dedicate this episode to Bam Bam. Kendall suffered a loss in the family this week, and he is currently in mourning. So, Kendall, we love you. We love your family. We hope that you know that anytime you need us, just to talk or whatever, we are there for you. So we are going to, Evan and I are going to talk about
The Blair Witch Project.
The Blair Witch Project. I gotta admit, I went and saw this movie like 6 times in the theater when it first came out. I'm such a slut for this movie. This movie is. When I first saw this movie, I was like, oh my god, the way they shot this movie, this is so interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first time I saw the movie, I totally fell for the whole marketing scheme. It took a couple of months before I realized it was fake.
That's I don't want to, they're not the originators of this. I mean, this is totally a ploy, from '74 from Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah,
Toby Hooper did the same thing. Mm-hmm. But it fucking sells this movie so hard. This movie, I saw this. I didn't see it in the theaters. I was like probably 12 or 13 when this movie came out. It just scared the fuck out of me.
Yep.
Like, it's still, we watched it tonight. It's probably the 50th time I've seen this movie.
Yep.
It's still
creepy.
It's still creepy.
It's very creepy.
It's because, it's everything you don't see in this movie is what fucking sells it for me.
And we'll give a quick shout out to the marketing campaign. They kind of stole it from Deodato when he did Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah. Got a bunch of people who they didn't really know who they were, so the marketing could look like, oh, well, these people really were out there filming a documentary, and they got axed by a
was Cannibal Holocaust like a wide release film, or was it just
no?
I didn't think so.
In fact, Cannibal Holocaust was actually banned in 30 countries around the world.
Blair Witch was a wide release; it went everywhere.
Well, it was everywhere, but it wasn't in every theater, if that makes sense. It was a wide release, but it wasn't there were a lot of theaters that didn't pick it up on it. Because this was also right around the time people are, this is a couple years after The Craft, and everyone's thinking, oh, it's, it's witchcraft, and I don't, want my kids or anything. But, it's a rated R movie. Don't take your kids to see it.
But this movie really, at the time it came out in '99, it was. I'm sure it was refreshing to see. I can't really speak on that, but I'm sure it was refreshing to see something that wasn't a fucking knockoff of Scream.
Yes.
Something that wasn't, fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer or H2O or anything like that.
Yeah. So this movie came out in '99. It was what 3 years after Scream.
3 years after Scream.
2 years after I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was, this was the kind of the anti-teen horror movie. Mm-hmm. This definitely wasn't a slasher movie, so it didn't feel like Freddy Krueger or Friday the 13th or Michael Myers and Halloween or whatever. It just had it had a different feel to it, which was refreshing. Would be a word to use, I would say.
I don't know how burnt out people were with, because with the slasher Scream type movies, I can't really speak on that because I was young. I can't really speak on what the fandom was saying. But I I would have to say that this movie had to have been a breath of fresh air for people that might have thought that, because you were getting what, Scream 96, 97, you're getting Scream 2, you're getting fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer, you're getting H2O. So I could maybe see that people were like, yeah, can we get something new?
Yeah.
And this movie's fucking a new thing. Don't get me wrong.
That was upheld by it was new and it was exciting because of the marketing that they did for the movie.
Oh, the marketing is fucking fantastic. I mean, I can't say for certain, but I would almost bet, my paycheck that this is the first movie that really utilized the internet to its advantage.
In the way that it was, yes, because the internet was still young. And
for anybody listening that thinks that knows what the internet is now, I have to be real with you. The internet didn't become what the internet is till about 2006, 2007, when Facebook became a thing. That's when everybody got on the internet.
Yeah.
When I was on the internet, when I was a kid, it was only for the fucking nerds were on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, trying to source all of this stuff from this movie, trying to find anything, because now you can find, if this movie came out now and it was marketed the way it was, they would be like, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you'd be able to find it, because nothing was aggregated back then.
The best thing that you could do to find out about movies back in the day is stuff like going and finding the dirt sheets, like Ain't It Cool News, which is another really deep cut.
Yeah.
And
or unless what was it, Web.0?
Web.0 was one.
Yeah.
But all of these websites would get these trailers and stuff like that, and they would have plants in the industry. Well, this movie didn't really none of them had the plants in this, because this was basically made by a guy who was fresh out of film school as a director, and this was like he wrote this as like his quote unquote thesis.
Yeah.
And he decided that he wanted to take this script that he had and apply it in real life. He found some producers and basically came up with just the most insane way to film a movie.
Yeah, because it was written and directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Produced by Greg Hale and Robin Cowie.
I think it's Cowie.
And it's like a bare bones crew. It was the budget is, I was looking it up. It's really hard to source what the budget is, because it says it's anywhere from $200,000 to $750,000. Who fucking knows? Let's say it was 300.
Somewhere right in the middle.
Well, let's just go with it was 300. It made fucking $240 million.
Yep, and became a cult classic when it finally hit.
I mean,
DVD.
that's a fucking more than a cult classic, bro. That's a fucking hit.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying, this is a movie that ages well because it was filmed as. You could look at it right now and say, oh, it's a period piece, because it's
supposed to take place in the early 90s.
Yeah, so you could say that they filmed the quote unquote documentary in 1994, and they could have found it in 2024.
I mean, that movie is fucking Gen X to its core.
100%.
I mean, all three of the leads are Gen Xers if I've ever seen them.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, even like when they're, we'll go into more like the plot and stuff like that, but. Like when Heather and Josh are pulling up to pick up Mike, there's a fucking some alt jam playing on that radio.
Yep. Which is coincidentally besides the creaky tree sounding music at the very end. That's the only music that's in this movie. It's just what's playing on his stereo. It's not over the movie. It's in the background of the movie, which I thought was a really nice touch. Like. They marketed this so well that even when they were releasing the movie, they're like, "Oh, we want everybody to be somber in the theaters. We want everyone to be like, these three really died out here, so or disappeared, or however you wanted to justify."
Well, I mean, in 1999, and this had to have been like the early days of IMDb, because I don't know when IMDb was founded, but in '99, if you went on IMDb and you looked this movie up, it has 3 stars.
Mm-hmm.
It has Heather Donahue, Josh Leonard, and Mike Williams.
Mike C. Williams.
Mike C. Williams. It says missing, presumed dead. That's what it said for every single one of them, and they had to fucking. the directors told him, like, hey, when this movie comes out, you guys have to lay low for a while. And so they just laid low until they came out on the VMAs in 2000, I believe.
And basically we're like, hey, we're not dead.
It's a fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie just had it. This is the 25th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project, so because it came out in July of '99.
Oh yeah, that was just here.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Yeah. Okay, now that we're done talking about the nostalgia,
Time is a flat circle, and nothing means anything.
yeah, time is a flat circle. Nothing means anything.
So do we want to do we want to talk about like?
Let's get into the plot.
Do you want to get to the plot, or you want to talk about like what this movie means to you, or something like that?
Well, what it means to me was like, I don't know if this is the first found footage movie,
That's a misconception about this movie, is that it sparked the found footage scene.
Yeah.
Tell me found footage movies that came out after 99. You won't, because the found footage craze didn't start until after 2009, about 10 years later, which was with Paranormal
Activity.
And that's when you get Grave Encounters and you get
VHS.
all the fucking goddamn remake of Wreck, the shitty remake of Wreck Quarantine. Yeah. That's when you get those. And that's because Paranormal Activity was made for less than this movie's made for. It was made for about $10,000.
Yeah, because they only had like 4 actors in that, and none of them were well known.
No. I mean, Katie Featherston is fucking awesome now. She's like super in the community, but nobody knew who the fuck these people were.
Yeah. What I liked about this movie might not have been the very first or what sparked the whole found footage, but it did give way to like new ways of filming found footage movies, which is
I do think a lot of the tropes that were taken for found footage were taken from this movie for sure.
I agree. Yeah, some of those extreme close-up shots, yes, including the most memeable moment in the entire.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Talk about it. But the one of the things, this is also probably going to be deep cut that a lot of people probably haven't watched, was there was a show on MTV, and this was around the time that MTV was still showing music videos, but they also had actually decent television shows. It sparked a show called MTV's Fear.
Yep.
The idea behind MTV's Fear is they made it a found footage / competition show where they took like
and it was kind of like almost like a amateur ghost hunters type.
It was
of
an
deal.
amateur ghost hunters type of deal. They took like 5 or 6 people. They took them to a supposedly haunted location, and then they would strap them with cameras, and then they had to complete dares. And if you made it all the way through the night, you won money. So yeah, we can talk about the actual movie now.
Yeah, I mean, like for me personally, I wouldn't say like I really like this movie, but I wouldn't say it's like super personal to me. Like it's not like a movie that I'm just like, oh man, like this movie, like fucking, I like it. Don't get me wrong.
It's in my top 10, but it's definitely not in my like top 5.
Yeah, I don't even have it in my top 20. I mean, I like this movie, but I just like a lot of other movies better.
So in case you've been living under a rock, basically the premise of the Blair Witch story is that in 1994, Heather Donahue, Michael Williams, and Joshua Leonard went into the forest near a town in Maryland called Burkittsville. Actually a real place.
Yeah, and then I think in the movie they say it was formerly known as Blair.
Formerly known as Blair. They go into the woods to film a documentary about the Blair Witch, which is a fictional. In that universe, it's real, but it's a fictional old wives' tale or a ghost story in that area. And then they disappear, and then 4 years later, their footage is found by random hikers or somebody, and
they don't really ever specify
who found it or whatever. Yeah. Since then, it's kind of like become. It was a commercial success. It also became a cult classic. A lot of people put it on their list of stuff that they watch every October for Halloween. It spawned
2 sequels.
2 sequels. It also spawned an actual documentary about the Blair Witch. Like they were pretending like it was real.
There was like books about it too.
There's a couple books about it too. The sequels.
I never looked that up. I saw something roughly about it, so I didn't really look it up though.
The sequels are what they are. The second one, it wasn't as good as the first one. It's really hard to follow that anyway.
That movie's fucking trash. Sorry, I'm not going on a limb here. That movie's fucking garbage.
Well, it has spawned a, like I said, it spawned a cult following, even though it was not as big of a commercial success. They also spent a lot more money on that movie, so they didn't get as much return on investment.
Yeah, that is not a cult I want to be a part of. Because 2016 isn't bad, but I have my beefs with it, and it's basically just about the ending. It like up until that, I don't really mind the movie. I think it's kind of cool. It's like upping the technology and stuff like that because they're using like drones and neat stuff like that.
Yeah,
because the whole premise is like it's Heather's brother
trying to
look for her and stuff
like
that.
Like he was very young when she disappeared, so now he's in
which they
his
feature
20s.
her in like archival footage. I just the great thing about Blair Witch for me is the fact that it's your imagination is what makes the movie so fucking scary.
Yeah,
and the Blair Witch 2016 version kind of just shows you it, and I'm just like, this doesn't do it for me. Like I like when don't get me wrong, I like when movies just show me shit too. But I'm like, oh no, I get it. Why would we see it? It's like it's these fucking three people just filming it on a goddamn
which
camera.
Ended up being scarier than whatever they were going to show us in 2016.
Yeah.
In the 1999 version, the original, I mean, you don't see her. You never see her. She is an unseen presence. You hear the things that she's
You're
doing.
not even
but
like
you
sure
kind of
if it's even real.
Yeah.
If there's even a thing out, like obviously something's happening throughout this movie, but like you don't really know, is it a witch or is it just something else?
Yeah.
Nobody really knows.
It could be a deer.
Who fucking knows?
But I'm not fucking with that either.
But yeah, we kind of just start the movie. We get introduced to Heather at the beginning, and basically she's saying, like, well, she's making a documentary about the Blair Witch specifically. That's what and basically we're introduced to her, and then shortly after that we were introduced to Josh. Josh is the cameraman.
He's the cameraman. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think they basically during the opening they do a little like crawl or something like that, and they basically establish that these three are film students of varying different, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, they're college students
at the
University
of Maryland.
Is it University of Maryland?
I think that's what they established.
Okay, and then so basically we're introduced to them, and then we find out through like some dialogue, I believe, that Josh has a buddy of his named Mike, and Mike has some of the equipment that they're going to need to be able to do this, and he's like their sound guy.
He's their sound guy.
And basically, and then it like cuts in between some shots, of like Heather filming herself, and then her, seeing Josh, and then Josh and then her and Josh going to pick up Mike from his house.
Yep.
And he has all the equipment. They are introduced to each other, and then we go to the.
We go straight to the town.
Yeah, because they shop for fucking bullshit like food and shit like that.
Yeah.
Which you made a comment about.
Yeah, I was like, these people have definitely never actually gone hiking for multiple days in the woods because they're buying canned goods, and that shit is heavy, and you don't want to be carrying that.
Yeah, people who have to carry packs are like, dude, no.
You buy dry shit, and then you boil the water that you get from a creek, and then you make the wet stuff.
That's why you get dehydrated shit.
Yeah, you get dehydrated shit, and you carry your water.
Yeah. And then basically we're in the town. We see the sign for Burkittsville. Yep. And that's when we learn that it was formerly known as Blair, and like Heather's doing a bunch of voiceover stuff because they're filming stuff for the doc.
And they filmed something in like a graveyard where they do their first slate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we're meeting a bunch of townies, which is one. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. I fucking love townies. Yeah, townies are the best. That's why I love Friday the 13th so much, is because of the fact that we get so many townies in that movie. Yeah. But we're just like a waitress we meet, and then we meet an older gentleman who kind of tells the story of Rustin Parr. And he was basically like a bunch of kids had went missing. There was 7 that went missing altogether.
And he was like this hermit that lived out in the woods or something.
And basically, from the old, it's kind of intercutting between this old man and this younger gentleman that's telling kind of the same story. Yeah. The younger guy's like, oh yeah, it was like a tale, your parents would tell you, and like, oh, you better go to sleep, or the Blair Witch is going to get you. Which
is funny because that guy telling me that story reminds me. So I'm born and raised in Wichita. My mom was born and raised in Wichita. Yeah. right around the BTK killings. And if you don't know who the BTK killing is, look him up on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
but
I think most people know who the fuck
most
BTK
people do.
is.
So my mom used to tell me, "You better go to bed, or I'm going to give you the BTK," which is the fucking worst thing you could tell a child to get him to go to bed.
Mom, he's real.
He's a real person.
And I don't think I'm not his type.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, you're his type.
Yeah, definitely him.
Yeah, he really likes you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're kind of intercut between these two guys, and basically the older gentleman is telling the story of Rustin Parr, who, I guess, like we said, he was a hermit. Some kids went missing, and then basically he just walked into town one day and says, "I'm done."
And nobody knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, and then they started finding the bodies of all the children that he had killed. And then the younger guy is telling us, like, oh yeah, he would take him down to his house down in the basement, and he would take him down there in twos and tell one to go stand in the corner, and then he would kill the other one, and then as soon as he was done killing the other one, he'd kill the one that was standing in the corner.
Because apparently he didn't like the eyes on him. He didn't like people watching him do it.
And that's the story of Rustin Parr. That's important later.
Yeah, it's going to be important for the end of the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very important because it doesn't seem to link up with anything, but it will. And some of these people are behind the scenes. Some of these people are plants. They're not real people. They did interview some real people from that town. Yeah. And once you know, you kind of can see who's real, who's not. You know, and then we meet like a lady with her child. She was real. Mm-hmm. Because you know what
I noticed on this last rewatch
was this. I mean, did this story have some validity to it in the area?
It had some. It had some basis for the story. Yeah. What I noticed was during this last rewatch, the ones who were the real people were filmed in color, and the ones that were plants were filmed in black and white. That's very sweet. Mm-hmm. That the old man is like, it's like, do you believe in the Blair Witch? No, sir, I don't. He's talking to a woman. Yeah. And then he's like, do you believe in? Are you Christian? Yes. Yep. Already. Yeah. So this isn't one of ours that we should talk to. And then basically this lady's kind of talking about the Blair Witch thing, blah blah blah. And then we cut back to the old man again, and he says, I don't know if I believe any of this stuff, but I know one person that does, and that's Mary Brown. And Mary Brown. Yeah, bro. Yeah. So and then we cut to them they find Mary Brown's address. Obviously, this is off camera. Yeah. And they go to Mary Brown's trailer with an American flag in the weirdest gate. Heather's like, how the fuck do I open this gate? Yeah. Fucking kick it down. No, I don't know. I don't know what she did because it cut. We don't know what they might have burned it. Yeah. They might have shot it out. Yeah. But we meet this older woman named Mary Brown, and she basically has claimed that she's actually seen the Blair Witch in person. And she describes it. She's like fucking hairy and with like a fur all over her body. Yeah, she basically was like wearing a shawl, and she opened it up, and she had she said that she was like she had a woman figure, but it was all like hair, like fur, like horse fur. Mm-hmm. And then she being weird, and then so it cuts to them in the car, which is like actually one of my favorite dialogue scenes. It's like because Josh is like, oh, we should put her in the movie. She's like, oh, she already thinks she's in the film industry. Yeah. She thinks she's an actress. She thinks she's a ballerina. She's writing a book on American history, and she also does research for the Department of Energy. Yeah. Which is exactly the way you would describe anybody who is schizophrenic, anyways. And then after that, we're going to the woods. We're heading to the woods now. Yep. So we see the car, which is also that shot that they take from the camcorder. Was used in the marketing because they had on the missing persons flyers, they had a picture of all three of them, and then they have a picture of the car where they found it on the flyer, which I thought was a really nice touch. Yeah, spoiler alert: this is the last time we're going to see that car. Yeah, and it's a major character in this movie. It is, yeah, because they're trying to find it this whole time. And basically we're off to Coffin Rock. Yeah, and we meet
those two fucking guys fishing. I fucking love these dudes.
It is important to establish they were plants, but they act like they had been friends for a lifetime.
I feel like, these are the plants that I'm just like, these guys feel so fucking real.
Yeah.
But they're basically telling a story of Robin Weaver.
Robin Weaver.
Taken in, like, it was like the late 1800s. She basically disappeared. And then, what was it, like a few weeks later?
Yeah, she just wanders back into town.
And they're like, what the fuck happened to you? And she said that she saw a woman that was levitating.
Over the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, so that's one of the, like, this guy, he looks like fucking Jeffrey Dahmer's cousin.
Yeah.
He's got the fucking...
The Dahmer glasses.
Yeah, the Dahmer glasses.
The
Yeah,
haircut.
they're fucking tinted,
Yeah.
like they were. I knew... my stepdad knew a lot of guys with those type of glasses.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, that was the thing back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly filmed in 94, but still.
But still, it's like, it still has some stink on it from the 80s. And then what the older guy is saying, like, he saw, like, some type of mist.
Yeah.
That had come up from the water and stuff. And, of course, his buddy's like, that's fucking
That's
bullshit. You a goddamn lie.
You were drinking.
And then we're on our way to Coffin Rock.
Now we're on our way to Coffin Rock.
And then this is always like the part of the story that I'm just like, I know it happened, but I'm always like, this is the part I always forget about and I'm always unfamiliar with. So basically, like, these 5 guys got murdered.
5 guys got murdered
at Coffin Rock. They were placed, like, almost like built like a structure together or something like that.
So you actually get more information about Coffin Rock
in Blair Witch 2.
In the second one, where they were actually splayed out in the form of a pentagram. So the first Blair Witch Project really did some damage to, like, the Wiccan belief, and they actually address it in the second one, where people, this is back in the 90s, the late 80s or early 90s, where, literally everything, the Satanic Panic was still going on. Literally everything that was related to witchcraft was blamed on Satanism and stuff, and Wiccans were very upset that they were getting blamed for stuff that had to do with, like, pentagrams. In Wiccan belief, a pentagram is a symbol of protection.
Yeah.
But it got co-opted into the Satanic Panic as a symbol of Satan.
Well, what's funny is this, in universe, this movie is, like, being filmed at, like, almost the same time as the West Memphis 3 trial.
Yeah.
Which, big time Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
It's all that fucking trial was. Yeah. So, like, when you're talking about Wiccan, Wicca, I mean, Damien Eccles was
Wiccan.
Was Wiccan, and people, they have a misgiving. We'll talk about that when we talk about The Craft.
Yeah.
We'll get more in depth into what the real belief, because Heather's basically she's doing her documentary thing, and she's doing, like, a voiceover talking about Coffin Rock, and basically somebody found the bodies, went to go tell the sheriff to come out there, and when they came out there, the bodies were gone.
Bodies were gone. But the area still stunk of death.
Yeah, still stunk of death, and they basically said that probably it would have been just a few hours for them to get rid of the bodies. And then, so we do that, and then, what are we off to the cemetery?
We're on the trail to the cemetery.
The worst decision they ever made in this movie. Just fuck. Now, there's no telling whether or not if they would have just went home after Coffin Rock, if they would have
actually made it out.
Yeah, if they would have actually made it out, because spoiler alert, the fucking Blair Witch. Ooh, man, she's super powerful.
Yeah. Bending space and time.
Yeah. So we're headed to the cemetery, and of course, Heather the whole time was like, I know where we're going. This is going to be off map. Yeah. I told you it was going to be off map when we started this. Like, some of this hiking is going to be off map. And so we get to the cemetery. Is there anything before we get to the cemetery?
I think they camp once, and they do the cemetery the next day.
Yeah, because we get the first camping night.
Yeah.
Which is when we get our first.
No, nothing happens.
No, nothing happens the first night. Yeah, that's right. Because we cut to Josh telling Heather, like, oh, there were some weird fucking sounds happening last night. He's like,
one could have been an owl, but there was definitely, in a second layer of space, there might have been a cackle. And I realized that
Mike
everybody.
Is me.
Yeah, I realized that everybody has a friend like Josh, because he's taking everything just super calm, like nothing scaring him at this point. He's like, oh, it could have been an owl, but there was a definite cackle out there, and he's smiling during this whole thing. And Mike is over there like, if I heard a cackle, I would have shit my pants.
Yeah, same, bro. Same. Yeah. You Josh talking about it right now makes me want to shit my pants.
Yeah.
Like dude, that is fucking terrifying. Yeah, and then we're on course to the cemetery, and we get we get the piles of rocks after that, right?
Along the way to the cemetery, there is some question about whether or not Heather has gotten them lost, and this is a bit of foreshadowing, but but Heather's
it's a theme in this movie.
They eventually find the mythical. He's like, I think even Mike even mentioned, he's like, oh yeah, like you're taking us out here, like somebody told you there was a cemetery out here, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then they find the cemetery.
Yeah, and it's like what, a bunch of piles of rocks.
7 piles of rocks.
7.
It's
an
important
7.
number.
It's an important. Hey, remember when we talked about the 7 kids? Yeah, there's 7 piles of rocks.
7 piles of rocks.
And then they go back, but they go back later that night.
Yeah, they camp out. They set up their camp outside, and they come back so they can film it at night. So it's a little creepier for the documentary.
Yeah, so they're filming all these piles of rocks, and then Josh accidentally knocks over one of the piles of rocks.
Which you had to point out to me that it was Josh that knocked it over. And I was like, oh yeah, now that makes sense.
It's important. He while he's filming, he just accidentally hits some of the piles of rocks, and Heather says, "Oh, why would you do that?" He's like, and then she puts them back up there and gives a little kiss, and he's like,
can't be too careful.
Can't be too careful. And then we get the first real scary shit in this movie.
Yeah, because there's like some, I don't know, beast, or there's cracking wood out in the woods, and it sounds like something big is walking around.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
dude. It's just
yeah. And Heather really wants to get it on video, but Josh doesn't want to come out of the tent.
No, it's Mike.
Mike, sorry.
Yeah,
Mike's like, I don't want to come out of the tent.
She's like, you're fucking scared. He's like, yeah, I'm fucking scared. He's like, no shit, I'm fucking. Like, yeah.
He's like, well, what is it? It could have been anything. He's like, well, I don't want to mess with that. And he's like, well, probably just somebody fucking with it. He's like, well, I don't want to mess with that either.
Yeah, fuck this. Like,
same.
fucking hicks around here. They're fucking crazy.
Same.
And then, so we're heading back.
This is when they head back to the car. They had a good old time camping near the thing. They have a nice roaring fire, and then they have a discussion about Gilligan's Island, which I think is funny because there's so many portions of this movie that have made it deep into my brain that I actually say it because I tell people that they're illiterate TV people all the time.
Yeah, you illiterate TV people. It's the skipper.
Okay, let's stop calling him the captain. He's the skipper.
There are certain things in this movie that live in my head rent free, like sure.
Yeah, sure. I say that all the time. Somebody asks me to do something. Sure.
Yeah. Like,
because you can definitely tell Josh is from like New England.
Yeah, because I always if I have like a alcoholic drink that is a little bit too strong for me, I just go. Oh.
You make the Heather Donahue face.
I go. Oh, I fucking hate scotch.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, let's do an equipment check. I got a bag of hots and a beer.
Yeah. So you're set then.
So you're set.
But yeah, so we're heading back, trying to get back to the car. This is basically the rest of this fucking movie.
Yeah.
It's Heather saying, "Just go this way. We're good.
We're headed in the right direction." And they're all like, "Let's check the map. Let's find a place."
Yeah, we do a map check
all the time.
And fucking Heather's getting pissed, and she's like, "All right." He's like, "Turn off the camera." It's like, "No, fuck this. I want to get this on film."
Yeah.
It's like I want to cherish this fucking moment.
Yeah. You guys are doubting me?
Fuck you. But so we get a map check. That I think was off camera. I don't remember.
Well, no,
they look at it, and because Josh is like, he's like, we're right here. So if we basically go this way, then we're good.
And he doesn't even know which way this way is. He's just pointing behind him. And then you have Mike checking the map, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's just like, this is Greek to me.
Greek to me, yeah.
Like, whatever.
I'm trusting. He's like, here, I'm giving you this. I'm trusting you, but I'm gonna be real with you. I don't trust you right now. I don't trust you. So they're getting. Mike and Josh aren't getting fully mad, but they're like, okay, bro, we were supposed to be gone already, but we're gonna have to camp again.
Yeah.
So will they camp?
They camp,
again.
because they're walking, and she finally was just like, I think we need to camp again, and they're like, no, we're supposed to be leaving today, and she's like, well, I think we're headed the right way for the car, but I think we're not gonna be able to find it because it's getting dark.
It's gonna be dark, yeah. Which you tip, don't hike in the dark.
Yeah, never hike in the dark.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going. Even if you have lights, the flashlights will only show you what they're going to show you.
And also, you really need to know what you're stepping on,
Yeah.
because in the dark, a tree branch looks very similar to a snake.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, stuff comes out at night in the woods.
Yeah, so
That's their territory
that's
now.
part of the premise of this movie. Is
Yeah,
that stuff comes out at night.
So we make camp again, and we're getting the same fucking noises, except now they're a lot louder and a lot closer.
Yep.
And Josh they make a comment. They comment on this almost all the time. It's like it feels like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's not coming from a specific
Direction.
area.
Yeah.
It's just it feels like it's all around us, but they can't really specify exactly where the sound is coming from.
Yeah.
And then we wake up the next day.
We wake up the next day, and they find that somehow magically they have managed to pitch their tent right between three piles of rocks.
3 piles of rocks, which are similar to the 7 piles of rocks I saw earlier.
Yeah, which is, I mean, the number game kicks in again because there's 3 piles of rocks and there's 3 now lost hikers.
And Josh is like, oh, maybe they were there before. And then Heather says smartly, he's like, I think we would have fucking noticed 3 piles of rocks when we set up this tent.
Yeah, how did we magically set our tent up around 3 specifically piled stacks of rocks?
Yeah. Yeah, like, come on, bro, get with it.
Yeah. So, so they pack up, and this is the moment where Heather's like, who has the map?
Yeah, because she's so basically this entire movie, Heather has taken ownership of the map because
Yep.
she knows exactly everything about this map. She knows everything that she knows where they're going.
Yeah.
That's what she says the entire time. She's like, I know where we're going. I know where we're going.
And I'm not sure if they actually did a very good job of establishing it, but they do later in the movie. Heather enjoys hiking, so she
Yes.
does do hiking stuff. She's the one who has a copy of How to Survive in the Woods and a field notebook and all that stuff. So she knows how to hike.
Oh, and I didn't know if we talked about. She also had the book that has like the lore of.
She had the Blair Witch.
It's not really that important.
It's not. It comes up once when they're at Coffin Rock because she reads a passage out of it. But other than that, that book might as well be firewood.
Never fucking comes up ever again.
But yeah, so Heather has like experience hiking, so she has experience reading the maps. Now, even the most experienced hiker can get lost. It happens all the time. Fucking Julian Sands just had this happen. Like what, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, where he's an experienced mountain climber, experienced hiker.
Julian Sands, like from Arachnophobia, Julian Sands?
Yeah.
Like the actor?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know he was a hiker.
Well, he was until he died.
Oh, I
hiking.
didn't know that.
Yeah, he died. Yeah, no. Apparently, he
Dude, you just blew my fucking mind.
Yeah,
Like,
he went. He was an experienced hiker. He was an experienced mountaineer. He liked going up into the mountains and hiking, and he disappeared for like 4 months. Nobody knew where he was. They finally found his body, or what was left of it, in the mountains where he was going hiking. And he just got lost and died of exposure.
That fucking bums me out.
It does. It bummed me out when I found out too. But yeah, Julian Sands died.
And when you said Julian Sands, I was like
Warlock.
Doctor, from Warlock, or like Dr. Atherton from fucking Arachnophobia.
They're very same.
Oscar-nominated Julian Sands.
Oscar-nominated Julian Sands.
Yeah, I thought, I was like, well, maybe there was a hiker with the name Julian Sands.
Nope.
No, it's the same guy. Fuck.
No, same guy.
That makes me sad.
That does.
I'm bummed out now.
I'm sorry you had to find out this way. It's only been like 2 years.
Fuck. Yeah, and then like you said, she's taken ownership of this map.
Yeah.
Because like you said, she's hiked before.
She's the experienced one.
And so she's like, I don't. Did you take? She's basically saying, did you guys take it? Like she's telling Josh, was like, did you take the map? And he's like, no, I didn't take the fucking map. I gave it back to you after we did the map check. Yeah. And she's like, well, it's not. I've had it in this pocket the entire time, and now it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
And Josh is getting pretty. He says he has some of my favorite lines. He's like that's so not fucking cool.
That's so not. That's like the least responsible thing you could do.
Yeah. I'm like, fair.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
He's not. Like Josh is my favorite character in this movie, just
easily.
because he's like. He gets mad at the end.
He gets mad several times during filming.
But fair.
But he gets mad at the appropriate times and at the appropriate person at that time.
Yes, he does, and he gets mad at both of them.
Yes,
equally.
Oh yes.
but yeah, he's like, that's so not fucking cool, man. And basically, they're just like, well, we were okay. Well, so
we're headed this way.
We're headed this way. Let's just keep going this way. This is the way we were going, so let's just keep going. And then this is when do we find the sticks next?
No.
Or do we camp again?
No, we're gonna camp again. But I mean, the important part is coming up because
This is okay. Yeah, because this is when they're crossing that stream.
And then for some reason, Mike is just getting exceptionally giddy. I think a lot of people were just kind of attributing it to like, oh, well, he hasn't gotten a lot of sleep, and he's kind of getting, when you don't sleep very often, like the smallest thing can just set you off and make you start giggling.
Yeah.
So he starts giggling, and Heather thinks he's acting a little weird and everything like that. And then
she makes like, wow, this is the first time you've laughed in days.
In days. And then her and Josh start getting into it a little bit about the map, and this is when Mike lets loose the secret that he thought the map was useless.
Yeah, this is when Mike becomes the biggest asshole.
He becomes the villain of this movie. He took the map and he kicked it into the creek. And Heather and Josh, rightfully so, get livid with him.
Yeah, because like Josh is like, dude, I fucking vouched for you.
Yeah,
I brought you on this trip.
You on this project. And there's a point where like hands are almost being thrown.
Yeah.
And
it's on site.
and Mike starts saying, "Well, I'm sorry." And it's like, this is not something you get to say sorry about.
He's basically like, the map was fucking useless, and Heather keeps saying, it
wasn't to me.
It wasn't to me, and he's like, it was to you. It was useless to you because you got us fucking lost in the first place.
And you wouldn't admit it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the crux of their disagreements between these three. Is the fact that Mike fucked up because she's like, you have betrayed us beyond belief. You don't get compass privileges anymore.
Give me the compass. And then Josh asks if he can have the compass. She's just like, she just gets so petty. She's like, no. If you wanted a compass, you should have brought your own. He's like, I don't give a fuck about whose compass it is.
Give me a fucking compass.
You fucked us up. He fucked us up. It's time for me to not
fuck us. Yeah, because I've done nothing wrong.
Josh, you mentioned it while we were watching it. Josh is like the only innocent person in this movie.
Yeah. Not that these people, not that Heather and Mike are bad people. No. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
About like during the making of this documentary.
Some bigger than others.
Some bigger than others, but Josh is innocent.
Yeah, Josh makes very few mistakes along the way.
Yeah. And so because that's when we're getting to that, and then we're camping.
Then we're camping again
that night. Yeah, we camped that night, and we basically cut from their arguing and shit like that.
Well, they set up camp, and then they cut the cameras off.
Yeah.
And then they just wake up, and
because Heather wakes up and she's like, she's getting scared because she's like, what the fuck was that? And we start hearing like a breathing outside.
They hear kids giggling outside.
Yeah, well, before that, there's like a, and then that's when she gets fucking super scared.
Was that
Heather?
That was Heather.
That was Heather because I thought there was something else
because you hear a and she goes because she hears it because it's so close.
Yeah, because it's like right outside the fucking tent. And then as soon as she's trying to wake the others up, and that's when the fucking tent starts shaking, and I'm shitting myself.
Yeah.
Like the first time I watched this, I was like, "Fuck that, dude.
Yeah.
I'm never going camping."
Could you imagine being in that position where you're just all of a sudden like you've been in the woods, you're hungry. You've been in the woods for 2 days longer than you planned on. You're hungry. You're out of cigarettes.
They're because spoiler alert, they're getting ready to get out of cigarettes, dude. And and also these three are chain smokers.
Yeah,
they smoke a lot.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah, but and then so the tent shakes and they say fuck this noise and they get out of the tent and fucking start running their asses off, and we have like 2 camera shots. We have Heather with the camcorder, and I assume Josh has
with the CP is what they call it.
Yeah, and so we're getting these 2 intercut shots, which I love that they do this in this movie where it cuts from color to black and white.
Yeah,
and the no sound to sound.
Yeah.
And then that's when Heather, because it's Josh running right behind Heather, and Heather sees something over in the distance, and she starts shouting, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
that we never see.
Now
Josh like turns or whatever, but we never see what it is that she saw. And then they're just running, and then they just
hide behind tall grass or something,
and then they stay there till fucking morning.
Yeah,
they're just like.
They're like, please tell me it's like 5 o'clock in the morning and the sun's only gonna be up in an hour. And she's like, it's 3, and he's like, fuck.
Yeah, because he's like, fuck, we're gonna have to sit out here for hours until the sun comes up. Because basically at this point everything's happening at nighttime.
Yeah, nothing
happens during the day, nothing scary, none of that shit. And then basically They get back to the tent, and it's fucking I mean, everything's fucked up. All their stuff is kind of like sort of strewn about. Like they find Heather's pack and they find Mike's pack.
But they find Josh's pack, and basically everything in his pack has been just like pulled out of the pack and like thrown around.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, they threw all my fucking water. I was like, I don't know, dude, that looks like slime.
He's like, no, it's just water. Oh, it is slime. What is this?
He's like, what the fuck is that? And Heather's, of course, filming everything.
Yeah.
And Josh and Mike are getting fucking
They're
pissed.
over it. They're up to here.
Yeah, because they're like, let's just fucking go. Let's get. Josh says one of my favorite lines, which is like, it's obvious people don't fucking want us here, so let's fucking get the fuck out of here.
Voice of reason,
yeah,
suddenly.
Yeah, and so they're packing up, and this is when they run into the stick people.
Yeah.
Because what is it? Josh is like, oh, dude, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you got Mike. Mike comes like, I guess at this point Mike is like leading, like trying to lead him out, and he yells, he's like, "There's a whole bunch of shit up here. You got to come see this!"
Yeah.
And they all run up there, and Heather's like, "Get him on, get the cameras going. I want to get everything," and blah blah blah.
And we see just a bunch of just stick
These
little stick figures that are tied together with like string, and they're hanging from the trees.
Clearly, it was done during the arts and craft time at the local Burkittsville nursing facility.
My fingers hurt.
Oh, your fingers hurt? Well, your back's about to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
Oh. Anybody else's fingers hurt?
No,
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so.
But yeah, they because when I was up, I was gonna mention it to you when we were watching it, because you see they're fucking everywhere, but there's one specifically in the middle that's bigger and has more sticks on it, and it almost looks hairy.
Has moss.
That's supposed to be like the Blair Witch, right?
Well, I think they're all supposed to be representative of the Blair Witch.
But that one is like big time because it's front and center.
What I think the stick figures are supposed to represent, I think it's supposed to represent all of her supposed victims over the course of the however long it was.
A fucking lot.
Which was a lot, yeah. Because I mean, you had 7 or 8, depending on whether or not you consider Rustin Parr a victim of it. You had Robin Weaver. You had the 5 people of Coffin Rock. So I think all of the stick figures are supposed to represent like the souls of those people trapped in the woods with her.
Yeah, because at this point, I think we were discussing it, that Rustin Parr was basically like coerced or like possessed
mind
by
controlled
her,
or something
to kill those kids, to get them out there and kill them.
As far as I'm concerned, Rustin Parr is just as much of a victim of the Blair Witch as anybody else.
He was just a dude living off the grid, Randy Quaiding it out there.
I mean, he's as much of a victim of the Blair Witch as any of the characters from the second movie is, which again, it's completely whatever.
Yeah. But so we get these stick figures, and Mike and Josh was like, okay, well, let's get the fuck out of here. We're over this.
We're pretty over it.
Yeah. I'm done making a movie.
Yeah.
I've been done making a movie, but I'm really fucking done making a movie.
This is me being completely fucking over it.
Yeah, but
now.
of course Heather's filming it. She's like, I'm coming. But of course she's got to get all the ones. One of my favorite things is Josh was like, oh yeah, I got all of them. It's like, I didn't even fucking see
this one over here.
And they're like, they're fucking over it. They're ready to get the fuck out of there. And they're hiking some more. And I think this is when Josh is crying by himself because he's like, they're all pretty fucking over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, fuck this. This is.
Once again, Mike gets to be the voice of reason. He keeps telling Heather, he's like, hey, just let him, just give him 5 minutes.
They're all like fucking. They're tired. They're tired. They're cold. They're hungry.
Physically exhausted.
Yeah, and they're
they've been scared for
losing
4
it
nights.
at different times.
Yeah.
And so Josh is over there, and he's having a moment, and then he basically says like, "Why'd they put slime on my shit?"
Yeah.
And then Heather's like, let's just go. We got to keep going, because eventually we have to hit something.
Yeah.
These fucking woods can't go on. Of course, Mike says, according to our footsteps, this place could go on forever.
Yeah. And that's not possible because we're in the United States of America. Then we get a beautiful rendition of America.
America the Beautiful. And then we get a nice duet of the national anthem.
Of the national anthem.
By Josh and Mike.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Which I pointed out, like, when you're hiking, if you're lost, first of all, the first thing you do when you're lost is you don't move, because if they've been gone for a certain amount of days and people are actually going out to look for them, they would have found the car and then started their search pattern from there.
Yeah.
The idea is that when you're lost, you stop where you are, you set up your camp, and you don't move. I mean, if you move a very small area, because they're going to start the search pattern from the car and fan their way out.
Yeah.
They're actually doing the exact opposite, because if you're continuing to move, you could be moving farther away from help. But if you insist on continuing, you have to do things while you're lost to continue to keep up your morale, because you're already in kind of like a despair, like, oh, am I going to get out?
Yeah,
So
their morale is shit.
their morale is shit. So they're actually inadvertently doing something to keep up the morale by like singing the national anthem or, you know, America the Beautiful.
It's understandable that they didn't stay in the same place.
For this particular instance, yes, I agree. They should not.
Shit's going down.
Shit's going down. A bunch of kids just fucking wrecked our shit.
Look, I'm not like the fact that those fuckers went to sleep is miraculous to me, because I can't go to sleep if it's a little hot on a camping trip. Let alone if I hear shit in the fucking woods. You know, so yeah, and then so we get that kind of emotional moment with Josh, and then and then Josh kind of loses it. Yeah, he's getting pissed off because Heather won't.
Well, this is they continue on after they had found the stick figures, and they find that one of the fallen trees that they had crossed is the same one. They come back across it. Somehow they had walked in a straight line the entire time, but had managed to circle back around.
Yeah, Heather's like it doesn't make sense, because we've been walking the same way all fucking day. And how did we get back here? This does not make sense.
So they end up having to make camp in exactly the same place, and this is when Josh goes from being the cool dude to just kind of being an asshole. Although, again, I kind of understand where he's coming from, because she has been making the movie the whole time. She has been filming everything. She's been trying to do her documentary thing. He's tired. He's hungry. He's physically exhausted. He's already had an emotional breakdown, and this is just kind of an extension of that emotional breakdown, because he's lashing out,
getting back at her a little bit, because he's like, look, he starts filming her, and he's basically kind of berating her. He's saying, hey, how does, like, what's your motivation? Hey, we're lost in the woods. We're not getting out. We're probably gonna die out here, And he and then Mike's like, dude,
you're
chill.
being
like you got her. We get it and stuff like that. He's like, no, because she's still fucking making a movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show her that this is bad.
And this is actually the best acting you get out of Heather Donahue the entire movie, because she finally just lashes out and says, "This is all that I have left.
I don't have anything else left except for this."
Right.
And that's
and then he hits her with, "Are you gonna write us a happy ending?" And she fucking loses it. She starts crying, and
then she just walks away. And then we cut to they're in the tent.
Probably the last bit of levity in the movie.
It is the last bit of levity in the movie for sure.
Yeah.
There's a little bit with Mike later, but yeah, it's
the leaf.
Yeah, it's but this is when they're all together, and they kind of just, Josh apologizes. He says, "Hey, I'm sorry for that." And Heather is sewing up a pair of pants. I think
it's Mike's
pants, yeah, and they're kind of talking about, like, man, I could really go for a fucking cheeseburger right now.
Yeah, I got a cheeseburger in my back pocket.
Yeah, it's like some mashed potatoes and a
piece of ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, my man. Yeah. Because that's the first thing that I would be wanting if I'm lost in the woods. I'm like, I want
food and a fuck.
Food and a fuck.
Yeah, all day. And then we go to sleep.
Yep.
And Josh is gone.
Yeah, they wake up. Heather wakes up. Josh. She checks to make sure. Oh no, wait, that's the next night. She wakes up and realizes Josh is just gone. They didn't have any like weird.
Nothing happened that night.
Mike had said something about like setting watches, and I was like, "What are you guys, a fucking D&D party?"
Yeah.
But apparently during Josh's watch, he just vanished. So Heather wakes up. She can't find Josh, and like no idea what's going on. So they start yelling for Josh. They can't. He can't hear them. He doesn't respond. So they just pack up and they
keep going the way that they're going. They're like, hey, well, we have to run into him at some point.
Yeah.
And then basically we go to sleep the next night?
We end up camping again. They pitch the tent. Yeah. And then in the middle of the night,
we start hearing Josh screaming in the far distance, but he's like muffled, so it's like somebody's doing something to him, and they're trying to find it, but they're like we said earlier, they don't know what direction it's coming from because it's coming from every direction.
Coming from every direction.
And he's definitely. It almost sounds like he's being tortured.
Yeah, because he's screaming out in pain and like help and stuff that.
And then they can't find him, and what we cut to the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Heather checks to make sure Mike is still in the sleeping bag.
She's like, there's Mike.
Just making sure.
And then we find a little present.
A bundle.
Yeah, a bundle.
It's not of joy.
Yeah, it's a bundle of sticks, and it happens to have Josh's shirt on it. And Heather's like, "Fuck that!"
And
I'm throwing you over here because I don't want to fucking deal with that right now.
Yeah.
And then we find Mike, and he's fucking losing it big time. He's over there laughing, and he's like rocking back and forth
and
he's like, I found cigarettes.
They were all the way in the bottom of the pack.
All the way in the bottom of the pack.
We're alive because we're smoking.
Yeah, we're alive because we're smoking. Yeah, that's like too real, bro.
Yeah,
too real.
I get it.
And then Heather, while Mike is. I'm not sure what Mike might be packing up, and she goes and checks the bundle of sticks, and she starts untying it. There's blood in it.
There's blood in it. There's hair in it.
And
there's more of his shirt.
Because
he's very terminally 90s because he's got long hair, beard,
flannel shirt,
earrings in both ears, and he wears like this like claw or something around his neck. And flannel shirt, and that's what's tied around the bundle.
And then she unties. There's another piece of shirt that's a smaller piece of shirt, and she unties that.
Soaked in blood,
and there's fucking teeth in it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, to assume that it is Josh's teeth since he was in so much pain and yelling for them last night.
So
she freaks out.
She runs over to the creek. She washes her hands because she's got blood all over her hands. And
she decides not to tell Mike about it.
She does not tell Mike, which I really like that character trait, is the fact that she's like...
She's protecting him.
What's the use? There's no point in me telling him because he's just going to freak out. You know, there's no point in me being like, adding more shit to him. I'll deal with it. Because Mike can tell. He's like, what's wrong with you?
He might have a little bit of hope right now, but if I tell him about this, he's going to lose every shred of hope.
Yeah. And then, because he's like, are you okay? And she's like, okay. And one of my favorite things that's so real is when she gets her hair caught in the fucking pack. She's like, my hair.
And she feels so powerless.
Yeah.
Like that was the last little bit of power she had was to put her pack on like a normal person. And it gets caught in her hair. And so she loses every bit of power. And that's when she actually starts crying. She's like,
so fucking real.
Oh, my hair.
that's way too fucking real for me. I was like, real. Dude, same.
Yeah.
And then we camp for the night.
Yeah, they walk again. They stop. Josh or Mike decides to eat a dry leaf because he's so hungry.
Which it takes me back to I don't know if you when I was a kid, Land Before Time was like a huge movie,
of course, yeah.
So I always had this image in my head. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I'm a fucking sucker for those Don Bluth movies.
Yeah. Don Bluth really liked to stick it in to break it off, didn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, with no lube.
Yeah.
He fucking. Yeah. Oh man, he loved twisting that knife.
Oh my god. All dogs go to heaven.
I always remember like Littlefoot eating that leaf. I'm like, the leaves must be delicious.
Yeah, they're delicious.
And then so that
and nutritious. Probably.
Every time I see this scene, that's what I think of. Is Littlefoot eating his tree star.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it must be good.
It must be good.
He's in a fucking leaf.
I mean, it was good enough for Littlefoot. It should be good enough for Mike, right?
I'm telling you. That movie was like had some like racial overtones to it.
It did. Yeah,
it was good. We're not doing a podcast on Land Before Time, but we should.
Just an entire podcast devoted to Land Before Time. Just Don Bluth movies.
Yeah, Don Bluth movies in general. And then we cut to that night when they camp.
Yep.
And then we hear Josh
screaming again.
Except this time he's not muffled. We can hear him clear as fucking
day. And they have a direction.
And they know exactly where he's coming from. He's yelling for help. He's yelling for Heather and Mike. And so they start fucking running in the direction that they hear this. Because this time it's not. It's not fucking coming from every side. It's a direction right in front of them. So
it's important to note Mike has Heather's camcorder, whereas Heather is carrying the black and white CP that does not have a mic on it.
It does not have sound. And so they're running in a direction, and we see a fucking house
that they just somehow managed to magically hike around for 5 days without spotting.
Because as we've established, They have been pretty much in the same fucking place for 5 days.
The Blair Witch is a master space and time.
Yeah, master space and time. And I'm pretty sure she probably can fuck with your mind and
Yeah.
shit like that. She's fucking super powerful. She would.
Well, I'm not going up there.
Yeah, she'd probably win a fucking like tournament bracket of horror villains. Cause what the fuck? What the fuck's Freddy Krueger gonna do to her? Get in her dreams? Good luck, bitch.
Yeah.
And then we see this house, and it's fucking creepy. Sucky thing, I read that this house they actually tore it down.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And God, I would have
Probably-
loved to gone up there just to go inside that house and scare the fuck out of myself.
It probably was like they tore it down because of the movie drew people out to the woods, and they kept having to go out there and rescue people.
They didn't fucking build that house. It was just
there.
Yeah, it was just abandoned.
So they probably were like, well, there are people that are going out in the forest looking for it and getting lost, so let's destroy that and then let people know that we destroyed it, so they stop going looking for the house.
But we go inside this house, and like you said, Mike has the camcorder with the full sound, and Heather has
The CP.
The CP that's soundless. It doesn't have sound unless it has the boom mic.
Yeah. So during this scene, the sound that you're hearing that is Heather is muffled because it's far away from the camera that has a mic.
And then so Mike goes upstairs. Because he hears Josh. Josh is calling.
He thinks he hears him upstairs.
So he starts going upstairs, and as we get further upstairs, we start seeing handprints on the wall, and they're specifically as if a child. They're children's.
They're very low to the ground and very small.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that they don't focus on them. Like, you just see them as you're passing by. They don't focus on the fact that they're there.
Here, look at this.
Look at this
creepy thing. It's like, no, it's like, did I just
see handprints?
I think I just saw a fucking handprint.
Yeah.
And then so Mike goes upstairs. Heather is behind him, and he gets to the top room of the stairs, and he hears Josh's voice. Only this time he hears it from the basement.
Yeah.
And he says, he's like, I hear Josh downstairs, and he starts running. Heather says, wait.
Yeah, but
because he's doing the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, splitting up.
And he's running downstairs, and Heather is trying to keep up with him, but of course she's got the gigantic fucking camera that she's trying to wield around these stairs.
Yeah.
And you can hear her as he's going down to the basement. You can hear her in the background.
Like, Mike, wait up.
Yeah, and then she starts screaming,
Yeah.
Mike, but it's from far
Far away. It's from 2 floors down.
Yeah, so it's fucking creepy as fuck. Like the way I love the sound editing in this.
The sound
movie.
editing is really good, especially at this point.
Oh, it's so fucking good. And so Mike goes downstairs, and we get a creepy fucking basement.
Yeah.
It's like basically like almost like a root cellar.
It's a root cellar or a storm shelter or something.
Yeah, and so there's so it's all dirt on the floor and stuff, and there's just like stones in there and stuff. And then Mike is like turning around, he's getting real scared because you can hear it in his voice. He's like, Josh. And then the camera gets knocked out of his hands.
Or he gets clocked and he drops the camera or
he drops
whatever.
the camera, and then we cut to Heather upstairs with the black and white CP.
And you're still hearing her voice, but from the mic that's now in the basement. So as she's approaching the basement, the voice is getting louder and louder. She's screaming out, "Mike,
as
Mike,
she gets
where are you?"
closer and closer to the camcorder, and she finally gets downstairs. She looks over to her right, and she sees Mike.
And she loses it,
Yeah,
as
and
she should.
Specifically, he is standing facing the corner.
Yep.
And then she's screaming, and then the camera, or she gets knocked down.
Yeah.
The last shot is we just see kind of garbled footage.
Which, if you actually look at it to the side, you can see Heather laying kind of face down. Well, not face down, but she's laying stomach down with her head kind of tilted, kind of to the side, like she just got clocked or stabbed or something in the back and just fell, and the camera fell and was facing her when she...
Yeah, and that's kind of like the callback to the Rust and Parr thing.
That's the callback to the Rust and Parr thing.
They were taken in pairs downstairs. One was put in the corner while the other one was killed.
Yep.
And that's the Blair Witch.
And that's it. That's the Blair Witch.
It's... What a fucking great movie!
It's creepy as shit. The movie, like we said, it cost somewhere in the ballpark of $200,000 to $700,000, but it made $240 million. What a fucking return on investment!
Yeah, there's so much cool shit that they did in this movie that a lot of directors were like, dude, like Tarantino was like very big on this. He was like, what a fucking genius movie.
They didn't have the way they filmed it was great too, because what they did was they gave them a GPS and then had predetermined coordinates that they had to go to and they had to get to in a certain amount of time, which was actually spread out over a smaller area than what that area is, because they filmed it in a state park in Maryland. Yeah. But they had those coordinates in the GPS that when they got to that coordinate, they would have a little bit of food, which also during the filming of this, they didn't tell them when they started it, but they slowly reduced the amount of food that they were getting with each drop. Because they wanted them to experience a little bit of hunger. They didn't starve them, but they reduced the amount of food they were getting throughout the course of the shoot. But each location also had an envelope of important things that they were going to do. Heather and Josh didn't know that Mike was going to be the one who got rid of the map. Mike knew that. He was supposed to drop that bit of information to them at that particular moment. Yeah,
because this is like a 35-page screenplay.
Yeah,
where basically it's an outline. It's the same thing Oren Peli did for Paranormal. It's an outline, but you guys improvise every line. This is what you're supposed to. This is what's happening in the scene. Say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, Josh was told when he was going off on Heather when he had the camcorder in his hand, he was told to lay into her, but he was not told how to lay into her.
And they were just going off of, okay, well, in this scene, this happened. This scene, this happened.
Yeah.
So we were like, they were. This is why I like the acting in this movie. It's because of the fact that it's all improv. How did these guys not get more work? Like, they're fucking good. Like, they're good, and like I believe everything they're fucking saying.
Yeah. Heather Donahue had a little bit of work after the fact of after the Blair Witch Project ended. She did a few cameos here and there. She found that she was mostly getting offered horror movies and stuff like that, so she felt like she's getting typecast.
Lean into it, dude.
Yeah, kind of like like Jamie Lee Curtis did, where she just kind of leaned into it.
Lean in. I mean, that's what fucking Linnea Quigley did.
Linnea Quigley leaned into it.
She still does shit now.
She still does shit.
Look at Barbara Crampton. Barbara Crampton's still fucking acting because she's like, I'm a horror actress. I'm a scream queen. That's
Jeffrey Combs does the same thing.
I fucking do. I don't want to get on a tangent about this, but I never understood. I don't want to be typecast. You not wanting to be typecast. I understand you want to do other things, and that is perfectly acceptable. I respect that, but also it's fucking work.
Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, she was typecast, and
course.
she made it her own.
Yeah, she started out in the Groundlings with like Paul Rubens and stuff.
Of course, finding out a whole bunch of stuff about her past and about the things that happened to her as she was growing up.
We'll have to talk about Mistress of the Dark.
Yeah,
we'll have to do it.
Yeah, we'll do.
That movie's not very good, but we can talk about it just because I like talking about Cassandra Peterson.
I love talking about Cassandra Peterson,
and we can talk about Paul Rubens because her and Paul Rubens were really tight.
Yeah.
And I'm never opposed to talking about Paul Rubens.
Yeah, but yeah, these people they realized their niche, so they just leaned into it. But yeah, so she had a few acting roles, a few cameos here and there, but then she just retired in 2008 because she didn't want to be typecast, and now she grows pot for people, and I'm like, oh, okay,
sweet,
whatever.
That's cool. That's sweet. I mean. Mike Williams, he was just in a fucking movie like this year.
Yeah.
But you know what he does? He does a lot of fucking horror movies. He does like little bit parts. He was just in a movie I really need to watch, Satanic Hispanics, which is supposed to be a neat anthology series that are done by a bunch of like Latino directors and stuff, or not Latino, Hispanic directors, I should say.
The funny thing is that Mike looks exactly the same as he did back in.
Oh yeah, I saw his picture. I was like, oh, he just has like.
He just has a full beard now.
Yeah.
Josh looks completely different. He has a full beard and he cut the hair off.
Because what Josh has done like a bunch of TV stuff.
He's done a bunch of TV stuff, but that's about it.
That's fine. I mean, the thing I learned from Matthew Lillard, I just listened to an interview with Matthew Lillard. He is very adamant about like, dude, just take jobs because it's like I know a lot of people were getting on like actors about the strike, like all these actors are all making all this money, People
They
don't
really are
people
making
don't
that much money.
understand how the business works.
If you're not a Clooney, a Damon, a Scarlett Johansson,
Leo.
a Rock, a Leo, you're. I think okay. So there was an actress. Oh God, I can't remember what her name was. She played a character in. I watched Orange Is the New Black most of the series. I didn't really care that much for it, but once I started it, I kind of like.
It wasn't my thing.
It wasn't. Yeah,
I
it wasn't great. But she plays a character in that movie who's like, not, I wouldn't say a main character, but she's definitely prominent in the second season all the way through to the end. She does multiple nude scenes in that show, and she showed everyone that movie that show is in syndication. It's on Netflix. It's still people still watch it. She showed a check for her royalties where she got $0.
Yep.
If you're not one of those A-list celebrities, you're not getting paid. Sean Whalen, from People Under the Stairs, from Sean Whalen's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Twister. He was a big proponent for the strike because he was like, I don't think people realize how much money we have to put into like getting headshots. It's not just going down to JCPenney and taking pictures. You have to pay a person to do this. And we live in LA, so we have a much higher rent than everyone else. Like
I think I was reading that only 3% of actors actually live above the poverty line.
Yep.
That is wild.
Yep.
I mean, like Lillard, he said that he made $5,000 a week for 4 weeks on screen.
Yep.
And then he was like, but you have to realize, I got to pay my agent. I got to pay my manager.
Yep.
The government's going to take a cut.
Yep.
So I'm walking away with like maybe $7,000. That's how much he made for Scream.
Which was probably the biggest movie of 1996.
Yeah, it made a lot of fucking movies.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
But he was just basically like I mean, like there were people that,
And he was prominent in that movie. It wasn't like he was just like a one-off. Like
No,
he
he's
was
like
one of the main characters.
Yeah, like he said he was like Nev blew up after that movie. Skeet blew up after that movie.
Well, Nev was already blowing up because she was in Party of Five.
She was also in Party of Five, but Skeet blew up after that movie.
Blew up because of that movie.
Jamie Kennedy blew up.
Kennedy,
after that movie, and Arquette blew up after that movie.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox didn't count. She was already in Friends.
She was already in Friends.
She was established at that time.
And then Rose McGowan had already been doing movies, so she had already established herself in Hollywood.
And then Rose didn't really blow up. She
didn't really blow up. She kind of
that,
stayed steady, and then she dropped off.
Yeah, and then she did Charmed. And then,
now we all know why she kind of dropped off.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a reason.
There's a very good. There's a
very disgusting reason.
Very disgusting reason. Yeah.
But
did you hear he has a rare form of cancer?
Good.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. I was like, oh cool. Okay.
Welcome. But yeah, I mean, like that's just how that works. People don't really understand that. They, but yeah, that was Blair Witch.
Yeah, they just assume everybody who's is in a movie is a millionaire. And for what it's worth, these three, Heather Donahue, Mike Williams, and Josh Leonard, they made, considering how much money this movie made in theaters, they made fucking pennies. They get paid like $10,000 each.
That's why some actors get back end.
That's why most actors will work something. And that back end wasn't really a thing back in 1999.
I don't know.
It is now.
Pleasance got back in on Halloween.
Pleasance did get back in on, but that was also Donald Pleasance.
But he also like understood the business.
He'd been around for so long before that.
But yeah. So that was Blair Witch. I had a good time.
I had a good time. I always enjoy watching that movie.
Yeah, it's a good fucking movie.
It's definitely one of the movies that it's on my list of movies to watch. I still own a copy of it.
Yeah. It's just done with so much with so little. I will always recommend this movie to pretty much anybody. I'll be like, yeah, you should. So yeah, that was Blair Witch. You should check it out. It's on Peacock.
Yep.
And that's we're gonna do some more of these bonus ones. So make sure you stay tuned.
Yep. Kindle, if you're listening to this, I hope you're doing well. Everybody, I guess we'll just continue with the be kind to everybody. Let's do a Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other.
Yeah, be excellent to each other. I just wanted to tell you that I'm so sorry.
I think you have to have some like. He's trying to actively push snot out of his nose. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Just to the moms, not the dads.
Yeah, fuck the dad.
Yeah, fuck the dads. I'm so sorry to Josh's mom and my mom.
I'm so sorry to the moms, the Mills, the Cougars.
God bless them. All right, guys. Have a good one. Be kind to each other.